pause for that Magnus, so they can kind of flex it around. It's not locked into off lane yet. Maybe we see Xavius take it this time around. Maybe they stick to Force, although recently it has been Force. Right? Like, he's been playing really good with skewer backs, really just emphasizing that relocation play. So I'm keen to see if Polaris can bring that out and get that aggression going, because this is the fastest pace that they might need. Talon, go back to the comfort pick. I think they figured that the Magnus is probably the Force hero, so we'll just take the TB. Lane matchup's not too bad. You can just sit back and farm once more for Gabby, hit his item spikes, and get running from there. Of course, if that is now going to be the Weaver 4 or 5, once the Ags is up, Terrorblade's going to have a lot of ways of saving himself. He gets time-lapse back. If he drops low again, he's still got Sunder. So there's a lot of ways to keep Gabby alive here just by having the Weaver around. I think Polaris has to be a bit cautious about that. They have to be ready with follow-up control, something for Mavis to kind of help them lock in the heroes they need to would be very helpful on the pause 5 here, assuming that Enchantress goes 4. But again, the flex is still on hand for Polaris as well.
Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Dire team back. Seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Back. Ten seconds remaining.
Yeah. I think it could fit in for Polaris. Talon could still ban it out, though. Like, taking care of the Ember kind of takes away the value of the Magnus already, because you could go Magnus Ember PA as your next picks and kind of get full value from the Mag. Now your options are a bit more limited for the mid to make use of it. Ember's probably the biggest one for the mid lane. They ban out the Spec instead, so that option for the PA is still there. I think Polaris has run this trio of Mag, PA, and Enchantress before. We've seen this kind of draft coming out from them. It would be playing into Polaris's comfort. I don't know at what point they'd want to draft, maybe the last phase of this second picking phase. The last pick there. And then just work towards the mid pick up here for Lelouch could be one approach. Because if they leave it until the last pick overall, I think that's something Talon can easily read and just ban out afterwards.
Radiant team pick. Yeehaw! 10 seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining.
You have a lot that you can try to get done. You could always aim for the cookie skewer combination and just kind of try to burst down from there. I'm keen to see what Talon does take for their hard 5, whether or not the Weaver is going to be our 5 or the Weaver is going to be a 4. It's still pretty flexible here. Talon has a lot of time to consider that. I think one thing for Talon right now is they definitely lack hold. So while they might have sustain down the line with time-lapse Ags on Weaver, right now they don't have the best way of just holding these heroes down, getting control off themselves. And see what if they do fix that up with their next support pick. It should be the support coming out. They see the support duo of Polaris, and their lockdown isn't the hardest as well, so there's a lot of room here for, say, a slippery mid coming out from Mikado. Hawk is still there, Wop's still there from Mikado, Storm's there as well, and Void Spirit. And Enchantress and Snap don't really keep any of those locked down, so I think Talon could opt to just double pick a support in mid here and be pretty secure if they want that. Again, keeping KP hero last as most teams tend to do when they have KP in their lineup.
Radiant team pick.
Puck!
10 seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Dire team pick.
You open, they go with the Dark Bull instead, so you've got the
Mariska has arrived.
Terrorize. You can kind of break the Dream Coil now with the Dark Willow. That does give you your control. It's still not the hardest lockdown from Talon, but it's a combination that can work. We've seen a lot of impactful Bramble mazes early on as well.
10
And of
seconds
course, there
remaining.
is some scaling into the late game if it does reach that point where the Ags comes out and you
5
become the one true
seconds
core.
remaining.
So there's a lot of options there for Talon, but I like the early timings this does give him. There's a lot of aggression with Puck, Dark Willow, and even Weaver contributing with the Swarm coming through. And that does set up for pretty strong early timing from Talon if they want to play that same way as game 1, where Mikado just takes early activity, so does KP. They buy space for Gabby to build up, and once he's set to go, they just run down those towers. I mean, they have some flex in Polaris, like we have seen Lelouch mid-mag as well. So if they want to go left field, they could give Force something else here. If they feel like they need to pressure the Terrorblade with the Snapfire combination. Just not sure what's really left for aggression in the
Radiant
offlane. Like,
team back.
you have the Mars option if you want to go into. If they go into the Lesh instead, so that should be our Lelouch hero on mid. Puck versus Lesh, very even lane. I don't think it's too back and forth. There are a lot of ways for both sides to play it aggressively. You've got good wave clear on both sides as well. The most important aspect is really rune control. And that's where
10
I think
seconds
Polaris might
remaining.
have a decent time, although Talon's not too bad off as well. Like, we've seen Weavers
5
run in
seconds
early on,
remaining.
Shikuchi up to the river, easily gap close, secure the water rune for the mid.
Dire
But
team
I
back.
think the emphasis has to be there on mid, especially for the Lesh. I think it's a bit more pertinent for the Lesh to really use his mana pool in the laning phase and just really grind up the levels to get that point where Diabolic Edict's up and running, you're ready to push a lane, ready to apply
Radiant
pressure and
team
shrink the
back.
map a bit for Talon.
Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Dire team ban. Radiant team pick. Dire team pick.
Spirit Breaker.
Yeah, it's
10
a
seconds
really
remaining.
strong offlane, and once you hit your certain item timings, it can get
5 seconds
going.
remaining.
Again, and last series we already saw like specific bans out for Escod, right? Like, he loves the Spirit Breaker. Didn't see it at all in the last series. Now Talon gets to pick it up. We'll have to see what KP can do with a hero, but it should be strong enough. Like, especially if you expect something like, say, the PA. You can just kind of run up, hope for lucky bashes, keep her locked in, follow with the brambles, and get all sort of chaos going through. So let's see, Polaris. I think the Void might have actually been their best bet because you have Chrono
Phantom
combinations, but the
ascends
PA
your
comes out
hero.
anyway. So they still go into it for Natsumi. It's something we've seen him play across different teams, right? Not just in a droid, but when he spent some time with Neon as well, he definitely loved playing that PA. So it is a Natsumi special coming true, but you have to remember you're playing PA against Gabby, right? Like, he's also a PA specialist. He knows the timings. He knows how to itemize against it now. I think the rest of Talon, as you mentioned, Mike, it doesn't feel like it's a massive issue, even if you have the Magnus combination, because you're lacking that tie-in with your mid. Right? If you had Ember PA, that sounds a lot scarier, because both of them benefit big from the Empower. This time around, it's just Natsumi. He's going to have to still hit that farming spike. I'm keen to see if Natsumi takes the Battle Fury route. Some players we see skip Battle Fury if there's a lot of pressure and you have a Magnus for Empower anyway. But considering our Magnus is off lane, it's not like Force can always babysit you to ensure that Empower is there. So there's a bit of a timing issue there for the PA, where without Battle Fury, you're farming slower. You're not doing damage as well. Without Battle Fury, you desolate her. And that does mean, again, Natsumi's going to be playing towards the mid game. Not too much presence here in the early game.
Number 2. Think about
His Hyde reconnects to the game. So, it's not out of it. Like, it's still going. Hopefully, Hyde, your internet improves. Because he's had fantastic games. Hopefully it holds up.
Yeah. He should be alright. Did I ask you the hard question though, John? I never really asked you who you thought the superior draft was, or who had the superior draft this game too.
No, it's hard to tell, because Polaris does have that comfort pick, as you mentioned, Mike. This is a very classic Adroit lineup. But I think Talon, they've got their own comfort picks. You know, they've got the Gabby TB once more. They've got Mikoto on his puck, which we know he can perform on. And it's an issue of timing. I think when you consider the fact that Force is going to be farming and Natsumi is going to be farming again, so you've got two heroes that need to build up, it just means their aggression's going to be held back, because your offlane's still going to have to build up into Blink, into Force Staff, into Aura items, depending on what Force feels like. And that just means Talon has that earlier edge. And I think with Talon's lineup, these four heroes have such great presence. The Spirit Breaker can charge in, Fly can chase around with Shikuchi, get some minus armor going to buff up damage. You've got the Terrorize plus Dream Coil combination that's fairly low cooldown as well. The uptime for Polaris' aggression just isn't as great.
Fly, they get a little bit aggressive here, but Cookie's stun is going to land, but it won't matter. They just wanted the bounty rune anyway. Fly will have a look in the back to see if there's another one, but not quite. So a 2-for-2 trade. While we're around here, we'll talk about the bot lane, where you will see Fly in that Pos 5 Weaver. Of course, he'll be there with Force, or rather against Force, that position 3 Magnus, and of course the Snapfire being played by Xavius. And you'll have Gabby there on that Terrorblade once again. Stage, we kind of roughly went over the combos you can run against Gabby on this TB. Do you feel like they can pull it off though, John? Like, do you think Gabby's in real danger here, or do you expect a pretty nice laning stage for the Terrorblade?
I think you've got some good magic damage. You just have to be able to gap close and, you know, always line up the Scatter Blast, line up the Cookie to be aggressive onto Gabby. He does have a lot of armor, but he doesn't have a lot of HP, so magic damage will zone him out. And with a Weaver, it can be a bit of a slower lane. Like, it's not the most aggressive support, although you are seeing Fly just really playing tag Xavius, committing hard for that creep kill, and it's already going to be really low in HP. No salve around as well, so taking massive risks and ensuring this early lane goes their way. But I think when you zone out the snap like that, it simplifies the process for Talon. And yes. Force, again, he has to spam out Shockwave, but Fly can just sit there and right-click. No issues.
Certainly so. Also over in the mid lane as well, Lelouch going to be against Mikoto once again. For now, Lelouch having a really nice time, just 2 CS ahead of Mikoto, but imagine things should catch up very soon for our puck. It does feel like, though, with all the Lightning Storm spam out from Lelouch, it is going to be a bit of an annoying matchup here for Mikoto. And we have seen a lot of Leshrac versus Puck. You do kind of have a nice setup for the Split Earth later on once the phase shift does come out, if Mikoto does get kind of caught with his pants down. So can the Puck can kind of work against itself against the hero like the Leshrac.
Yeah, there's some outplay potential for Lelouch. I think Mikoto just has to kind of take the lane safe, build up in levels, clear up, get some farm going your way. and hopefully get control of the runes. And that's the key thing with the matchup. Spell spam is going to be high up there for both sides. Lelouch already has his bottle. Mikado is still ferrying his out. And looks like the wave is going to be pushing in Lelouch's favor, so he's going to get to refill up.
Xavius in trouble. Bot lane is going to go down as the first blood does come out. He tried to TP out, but it was just never going to work out in his favor. Just too much damage from Gabby.
Yep, you've got the Metamorphosis going. You can melt right through. And again, for Polaris, if they don't manage to land those chain stuns and the magic damage through, you can't really zone out Gabby. Fly's doing a great job of keeping them pinned down. And that's a great start. Talon, first blood going your way. Great grab for Gabby. He's going to be riding high, and the build-up for the TB is already looking good. So it might be a repeat of game 1 if Gabby gets a decent enough time in lane like this.
Potentially. Of course, that final lane as well. You've got Natsumi and Mavis against KP and Hyde. And Natsumi having a decent time for himself right now. Not quite as good of a time as Gabby's having. They do charge in right now onto Mavis. Brambles is going to land. He'll try to heal himself up. Can we get a lucky bash out? Not quite. Mavis will be lucky enough to avoid the 17% there from KP. You can already see that they're starting to get very aggressive here on Talon, and all it takes is a charge into Brambles, and you just lose so much HP immediately.
It's just down to the early timings all of the heroes have. Whereas for Polaris, it's a lot slower, and you can see KP, there's nothing to really scare him there. Like, he charges in, he knows there's no real counterplay, and they can just keep applying that pressure, forcing Natsumi to make a choice with his dagger use, whether to use it on the creep wave or defensively to try to get slow off. And you're just offsetting again that PA timing into Tread's battle fear that you still want to go for.
Yeah. It's a very awkward lane, right? Like for Natsumi, because he can't do much. KP, tanky, high armor hero, has the stick up already, so he's just getting free HP and mana regen. Natsumi, all he can do is hit creeps right now, just make sure he has a decent laning stage. No real hope of trying to find a kill, even if KP is left alone here on that Spirit Breaker. So we do see Hyde starting to make those rotations over, but looks like he just wanted to get some wards down. Not going to go too early into the mid lane as the 4-minute runes are already taken. He might be back for the 6-minute timing. But I say that. Now Mavis is rotating over. Just wants a cheeky bounty rune for himself and himself a creep as well. So he should be able to get away with this no problem. Very little impact right now from Mavis. It's just not the laning stage you want as an Enchantress.
No, it's... You kind of want to be aggressive with the creeps or with slow, but you don't really have that opportunity with a PA. Again, as you said, Mike, very passive lane for Natsumi. So you're going to have to just try to get as much farm as possible. So far, I think Talon's enjoying this play a lot more. Gabby, kind of even in CS, but he is ahead in the nice at least.
The bot lane, though, Fly somehow ends up underneath that tier 1 tower. So they end up getting the skewer back there with Force, and they do find their first kill of the game here for Polaris Esports. Fly, even on that pesky Weaver, still very susceptible to dying, assuming he gets cookie stunned or even just gets skewered back. Very, very easy to get rid of this bug.
It's still a very vulnerable moment for that Weaver does get caught out, although Mavis now.
Yeah, charge in, Brambles are there. He'll heal himself up again. Again, we were just looking for a lucky pass here from KP, but he's not getting it.
What?
He is just not getting it. Mavis is going to walk away again. 17%. Sometimes you get a chance, sometimes you don't.
Yeah, it just looks like Mavis is one of those lucky guys, you know, always gets things going his way. That does buy Natsumi some space to, again, keep farming up in the PA. I think you're pretty happy about that. If your Enchantress is forcing 2 rotations on her, your PA is starting to get that catch-up farm going. Does line up, and it does look like Natsumi is opting for the Deso first, so it's going to be relying on Force to give him power, but that does mean Natsumi will take early activity once that Desolator's up.
Yeah, certainly so. I mean, that's kind of what you want, right, as the PA. You're kind of skipping the Battle Fury with the Magnus, and you are able to get a little bit more active once the Deso's there. No, Natsumi, he might wait for a BKB before he really gets going, but as long as you're just able to skip out that initial farming item, it's all that matters here for Polaris Esports. Speaking of farming, though, I mean, you look at the left track, Lelouch, he's really just starting to pull ahead now on this Lash. Is to be expected, though, considering he has had a pretty good lane and can always kind of rotate back into the triangle and just farm up stacks. But this is going to be another cause of concern here for Talon. I mean, you can't ignore Lelouch on this Lash.
Yeah, he's just been given too much free reign on his triangle. No forward wards here from Talon to kind of punish. They haven't scouted out the jungle, haven't blocked any of the camps.
Oh, Gabby.
So
Bot lane, he's skewered back. He had no way of surviving just unless he just runs out of there. And he will.
My thanks.
With the skewer back into the tier 1, they just did not have enough damage to get rid of this Terrorblade. Gabby, he'll be salved up and he'll be just fine.
just back to farming, back to building up. We're at the point where Terrorblade should have the Yasha up very, very soon. So not the Dragonlance play for Gabby lacking some Sprinter, although Fly's been left alone.
They'll Sakuchi away though, no problems here for Fly.
And now Talon, they're still in a pretty good spot, and Polaris as well. You know, it's very even so far. I think what we need to see next, Mike, is Lelouch's movement, right? He's got maxed Edict ready to go. We need to see maybe a bit of push going, a bit of a fight forced out with her chain stuns, with a cookie, with the split earth, and just kind of run from there.
And in the end, Fly does actually end up going down as they go back for him. Force. He didn't even need any of his spells. It was just a cookie scatter blast out from his support Snapfire, and that was enough to set up onto Fly. They've lost the Weaver now.
Radiant's middle tower.
Mid lane, Polaris, they want to start getting aggressive onto these objectives. Lelouch will be forced to back off early on as Makoto does rotate back to make sure that tier 1 is defended. That is always going to be a pretty big scare if you are Talon, right? Like that Leshrac, if you do rotate out of the mid lane, he is just going to pop Edict and just take your tier 1 tower every time.
Yeah, that's always a threat, and that's what we need to see from Polaris. Pressure the lanes, look for a push opportunity with a max Edict, and maybe even get the tower down the line. Still, I think Talon are doing a decent job of keeping everything in check. Gabby does manage to find out Mavis, but the TP away is going to be perfectly fine, and Gabby's going to get started on the triangle. There aren't really any stacks built up. Still some steady farm. They are taking control of the top jungle here, though. A nice forward ward from Talon, cutting off farm points here for a PA. Just slow her down.
Fly again. Can end up going down to the spot lane as Natsumi rotates over and secures the kill on the PA.
Radiant's bottom tower.
Natsumi really starting to take off now, this Phantom Assassin. Even without the Deso. In fact, never mind the Deso, he'll go for the Echo Saber first. The Empower alone just enables the PA to get so much damage off. There's just no problem there for Natsumi.
Looking to play tempo side of Polaris. While they're pushing bot, top lane's being shoved in by Gabs. It looks like they're going to go for the equal tower trade. And unfortunately, you don't really have a Lelouch set up for mid, so it's going to be even so far. No big defense coming out on either side. And that should even out map control, but again, you do have to worry about, you know, Gabby.
He's okay. I mean, he's no real backing here for Gabby. He just goes back in onto Mavis now. First crown's going to land. Xavius is still trying to fight. In fact, now in comes the cavalry. Gabby's gone too far, and they are going to get punished. Xavius able to take the kill. Polaris looking much, much better with this kind of draft. Already 4 kills on the board compared to the 1 of Talon. Just not allowing Talon to do what they wish in this game number 2. And well, that's what we want to see in game 1. Just don't allow them to farm up freely and just take over the map.
Yeah, and I have that movement because they managed to drag away the focus from their top tier 1, so they have to recommit for that tower that still stands, which means you have to keep a couple of heroes there. That's going to open up Polaris to maybe, again, pressure mid with your Leshrac if you want to. They are kind of set up for it now, and that forces a choice for Talon. Do they want to take the top tier 1? Are they willing to give out mid down the line? It allows Polaris to, again, just dictate the game so far, and they have bought the space out for Natsumi. Echo Saber up, too far off, and Power's still doing a lot of work. Issue is sometimes Force, again, isn't in the area, so that does slow down Natsumi's farming pace by a tad. It hasn't really impacted overall. Natsumi's still number 1 in net worth. They're keeping Gabby in check. It does look like Talon, Mike, are still going to secure that top, committing for it.
I mean, they need it. Force, he's in a bit of danger, but the Mortimer's Kisses are going to zone out everyone from Talon as now they need an exit plan, it seems. So Cookie is going to land onto KP. Makoto's still around to try and help out, but Lelouch, he's joined in the fray. Talon just being unable to try and go off this top tier 1. As in the meantime, Natsumi and Mavis, they started pressuring that mid tier 1 tower now. Just putting all kinds of pressure across the map. Talon, oh, they even miss a Dream Coil. They try to catch Mavis with that, but he just TP's out. Avius, and he's going after Makoto. He might kill him. The patient is there. He might still try, but no, it's too late. KP will save the day.
Is under attack.
It takes a lot of commitment to find that kill in tower, but eventually they get work done. I think for Polaris, again, because they shifted Lelouch up top, they couldn't actually fully focus in on the mid. Natsumi is doing some good work, but he doesn't melt towers like Leshrac does, and does kind of cut off that opportunity. Still, he's gonna look to play a bit cheeky, but KP is a speedy one. Let's see if he can juke out here.
Tumbler's toy is pretty nice though for Lelouch. KP still needs a charge target, but no, he's got no charge available at the moment. So Lelouch able to just chase him down and secures the kill very nicely. Again, Polaris Esports, just everything going their way thus far in game 2. Still holding that 2k net worth advantage along with the kill score lead. And Talon, they've smoked up now, down to the bot lane, but the only person they're going to find is Mavis. And they'll have to settle for this, but it's not quite the target you want.
Radiant's middle tower.
Mavis, he'll be more than happy to die for the cause, and just make sure Natsumi does not get ganked.
Secure the space for that PA to keep farming up. Deso one hammer away. And once you've got that up and running, again, the damage output of Natsumi skyrockets. You can handle pretty much every hero. Even the Terrorblade might be a bit susceptible without additional HP for Gabby. And that's where Polaris starts to feel comfy. I think their next spike is also the blink up here on Force. He's got the mech up, so they can sustain these prolonged fights. All they need is the blink for the skewer backs, the RPs, and you're good to go. You've got the team fight combos you need. You've got the split earth. You've got the magic damage on top. You've got the cleave on the PA. They've been really patient in Polaris while maintaining some level of aggression, and it's just paying off. A 1 to 2k lead isn't massive though, so Talon's not really too far behind. They still hold on to their mid-tier 1, which is a big issue for Polaris, as again, they haven't been able to leverage their Leshrac as much, although they will now.
Well, Makoto being chased down. Cookie, oh, that's a great cookie out.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Connecting on Makoto from Xavius. And now they can just turn their attention back to that tier 1 mid tower. So Makoto's gone for 30. There is no defending this. The Talon just do not have the answers right now. They'll have to watch it go down. Polaris, they aren't done yet. They want a bit more up that top lane. And charges there for Natsumi, but the rotations from Xavius are already out, as they might try to turn now. But who's the target? Cookie? No, it's off the mark. KP. He'll survive throughout this one. Polaris still moving more heroes up towards that top lane, trying to see if they can cut them off, but no, it looks like Talon are fine.
And you can see Polaris again kicking it into gear. Their lineup comes online very fast for Talon. They need a little bit more time. They're still waiting for Gabby to keep that build up on the TB. And Mikado is sort of ready to go. He also needs his blink up though. Once you have that blink dream coil with the Terrorize coming out, with the break on the coil, you can start the force fights, you can get control. The issue is it's not quite lining up yet for Talon. So Polaris is at opening with her single target control, with her AoE on hand, with her mobility on hand, and that's just keeping Talon in check. But again, not too far back. The lead has widened to 3k, and we do have that Desolator up on Natsumi, so this is where it gets scary, Mike. RPA is just ready to take names here when she does jump in.
Question is, do they go now? And I kind of made the point earlier that Natsumi might just wait for the BKB first. It looks like he will prioritize farming that up rather than joining the team to fight for now. His team doesn't really need it anyway. He can kind of join if he's around the area, but I think the BKB just kind of ensures that you have a good team fight in the future. Lelouch, so confident to take this mid creep wave. Gabby and Hyde going to be around to try and force him back and maybe even find a kill of the Dream Coil. Is going to land. Mavis is there to try and help him out. Terrorize does connect, but the Brambles holding him down and down the charge. KP is out and they've got Lelouch down. So they will try to fight this one out as Gabby is dropping low. The RP's there in time. The Sunder did not get out from Gabby. He lost vision over Xavius. Makoto, he will keep trying, but he needs to leave. And he will. Fly will have to do the exact same, and you saw that team fight. Gabby, he tried to sunder Xavius on the Snapfire, but Xavius, he got out of vision at just the right moment. There was no sunder target in time for Gabby.
And that was a sick RP coming out from Force as well to cut them off from finding that opening. And that was without the blink mark. Force has the blink now. So now you have the blink RP, you have the skewers back, and we have seen Force on the Magnus, but in the Pro Series, he does deliver work. He does look for the angles, looks to isolate a hero. With his skewers back, he doesn't necessarily need the RP. We'll see if he can get that game going this time around with Blink, but you're already at a good point here for Polaris. 5-9, 3k lead. slower in kills, definitely up there in the movement across the map, the control, all the tiny things that add up. If you're still lagging behind on Gabby's farm, that's not good news for the Terribly. PA with Empower is always going to out farm you, and now they're going to go for the Roche.
But they will. It's not going to take very long for Polaris to take this one out. The Roshan just melting so darn fast. And as Talon, you kind of want to do something about this, but you just don't have the time to react. They won't even try. Natsumi will pick up the Aegis, and now you just love to get aggressive here as Polaris Esports. Towards the top lane they go.
Radiant's top
The only
tower
real
is
target
under
they have
attack.
right now is Hyde at that top lane, and he's juking out in the tree line already.
Dire's bottom tower is
I
under
suppose
attack.
instead with the Aegis up, you may as well just go for that top tier 1 tower and call it a day.
Radiant's top
No issues
tower
there.
has fallen.
Your mid is kind of
Dire's
being
bottom tower
Xavier's.
is under attack.
Charge is coming. Makoto's there. They should have enough damage, but the TPs are going to fly out. They might have enough time to turn this team fight. Xavier's, he does drop, but now KP's in trouble. Dreamcoil will hold back the PA. So KP barely gets out with his life intact. It just kind of goes to show you how desperate things are for Talon, though. It took them that long to get a snap by a kill, and they commit pretty much everything for it.
They also have to deal now with the double damage roll, and Natsumi didn't pick up the...
Whoopsie.
It was dropped right there from Lelouch. You know, he was expecting
Radiant's
the chest
top tower
place.
is under
Lelouch,
attack.
as he would. Mr. V. Britannia himself still. It doesn't matter too much. I think you're still going to have a good time here while the Aegis is running. Of course, you want the time that DD use for a bigger
bottom
fight.
tower is
And
under
right now,
attack.
Talon's trying to avoid those fights. They're playing bot very far away from the side of Polaris, getting what farm they can, getting what pressure they can on the map. Be a bit careful about surrendering some of the tier 2s though. Once that opens up, it's a lot easier for Polaris to choke them out.
Here we go, Force. Trying to find himself Gabby here as the skewer is going to be up. Gabby being body blocked, but the RP's off the mark. It was out of range, and now Talon, they might be able to force a fight, but it looks like they want it back as well. KP, he may be the sacrificial lamb here for his team. He will still just try to outrun them. The Force is going to be on the chase. KP, no, he's going to get used up in charge. They do at least get Mavis on the other side of the map, but KP will drop. Still a favorable team fight for Polaris, but you would have much preferred not expending the RP if you could have avoided it.
Yeah, it was a bit of a gambit play on the edge, and they do miss out. Still, you find something for your trouble, and you force rotations out elsewhere. So there's no opportunity for Talon to kind of play with the fact that RP's down. They still have a bit of a window if they want to, but Talon's not stopping.
Yeah, they want to try and chase down Hyde now. That looks like Hyde's going to be just fine, though.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
It's out as well towards the mid lane. I mean, Makoto is pretty deep right now, farming up, and he's going to go for the creep wave to boot. It'll be a very dangerous play for him. Back off immediately, and looks like he should be okay.
Ooh.
But the cookie's going to land in time again. So has the orb out, commits the coil. Broken there from Force, but Makoto, oh, he should be fine, surely. Blink away now, and I think I say he's out of range, but Lelouch is cutting him off. Dual Scepter is available, but the phase shift is going to make it in time, and he has orbed out again. Great escape from Makoto.
Yeah, I think you're still happy about that on Polaris' end. You force out the Dream Coil. Now you know there's not going to be any play while RP's down because the big team fight spell is down as well on the side of Talon. For Talon, though, they managed to stall out long enough to get the ads up on KP, and that's when the Spirit Breaker can be a lot more annoying, although he's got to be careful.
You've got to be very careful. There's a lot of damage flying out from Natsumi right now. The end, KP barely survives with his life intact as Natsumi just has no fear at the moment on this PA. Before BKB up, he's just more than ready to go for a big team fight if he needs. For now, he'll just focus on that tier 2 bottom tower, along with the Lelouch, who does make his way in now with the Diabolic Edict. And it's just going to be no issue for them. They'll take it down. They'll take more of the map.
Radiant's bottom tower has fallen.
Increase that net worth. Talon, all they can do is just sit back and keep the farming up.
Hoping that your Terrorblade will get big enough. The Scotty's up, BKB's next for Gabby, into the MKB. And once you have that MKB, the PA will feel a lot squishier. So that's something to watch out for. But Polaris, again, they just don't rest. They keep running up. They know they're strong. They know they have a window to have to keep going.
Makoto, he's there with the phase shift. They do try to go with the shockwave, but it doesn't work out.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Natsumi now back into that mid-tier 2 tower.
Dire's top
It doesn't
tower
take
is
very
under
long,
attack.
especially when you've got that max diabolic edict there from Lelouch.
Radiant's middle tower has fallen.
Only one outer tower now remaining for Talon. Polaris Esports happily back off. Yeah, I start to ask the question, John, at what stage did Talon decide they've got to be able to fight back?
Perhaps once they've got that BKB up on Gabby, that could be one launching pad for them. Maybe the Ags up on Fly would be a good point as well with the durability that would provide, the sustain that will provide, especially on their Terrorblade. I think they're going to need some of those saving spells up first, because the committal, once it's there from Polaris, they can't really last through that initial physical burst. The PA is just too strong right now. The follow-ups there from the Leshrac as well. And speaking of...
Yeah, Fly's been caught out again. And he does get the Sakuchi off in time. Does also get the time lapse, but can he still make it out? Yeah, it doesn't look like it. Cookie is there to lock him down. However, down at the bot lane, they've found a much bigger target in the form of Natsumi, but there's not enough help around. KP does at least force out the BKB here from Natsumi, but can they keep going? Skewer back, Force is there to cancel the TP from Hyde. He will go down. The only thing they really got out of that was the BKB charge.
Yeah, I mean, that's still the 9-second charge, but I don't think you're going to mind too much on Polaris. It's still a big window for Natsumi. Still finds a kill for his trouble. And they can just go again. I think looks like the
Dire's
Basher is
middle
up for
tower is
Natsumi
under
flying
attack.
out now. So he's going to be able to just look for a bash, look for control through the BKBs, and just kind of run from there. Like, the daggers are so scary, the slows are stacking up. When you get bash as well, that's probably just a death straight off the bat for Natsumi to take.
That it is. Just stay grouped up here. I mean, it's very clear that Polaris are again ready to just force a fight. Talon are the ones that are just kind of sitting back and just waiting it out a little bit longer. Still hoping for those BKBs up so they can at least neglect some of the damage coming in from this Leshrac. It's KP, he does get pinged out and scanned out. They know the man's inside this tree line. Natsumi, he'll get to work, but the charge is there. So can they cancel it off? RP? No, it doesn't make it. Nice attempt by Force to try and cancel the charge, but it's just barely off the mark.
That would have been so impressive. It looked like he almost got the timing as well if he wasn't bashed through. Would have gotten that kill on KP. Still stalling for time here. Talon doing a good job of forcing the movements across the map. Polaris, and the one thing that is a bit concerning about all this time, Mike, is that their lead hasn't really grown. So sure, they've got a 5k lead, but it was also a 5k lead 5 minutes ago. So it's kind of static, and that does mean Talon is sort of keeping up, and they'll look for a smoke play.
Yeah, big smoke up at Force. He's still got the RP available, so you've got to be very wary of that. Gabby will still frontline for the team. They try to aim Xavius down first in that snapfire, and they might just have him, but Lelouch and Natsumi get to work onto KP, and now the RP's out. Gabby, he does get caught, and he will end up dropping. Only man left, KP, he bought back. But who are we going after? Apparently nobody. They've already lost that carry TB. There's no reason for them to stick around any longer on Polaris. Well, BKB or not on Gabby, John. If they land the RP, Gabby is gone.
Radiant's top tower has
Yeah,
fallen.
he was caught off guard by the last second scatter blast coming through from Hyde with the Ag Shard, and that stun just set up for Force to come in, get the RP, get the follow-up stun from Lelouch, and they clean up. You have to be a bit cautious about forcing fights like that for Talon, and now Polaris managed to widen the lead further, 8k up, so they deny off Gabby, they slow down his progression. He still needs the MKB to even handle Natsumi, that's still a long ways off. Ooh.
Radiant's
Be
top
fine,
tower
but
is under attack.
you know, he's scurrying around as the Weaver, still trying to find the space for the Ags build up here, Mike. Still a long ways off. Like, you need that sustain play to come in. Still lacking 3 parts, 2,500 gold away. And on the pause 5, it's just a slow progress for the Weaver.
Scanning.
So we'll see if it does come out fast enough. At the least here, for Talon, they do have some burst coming through from Mikado. He's got the Dagon up to level 2. You can try to burst down the PA when the BKB's down, and just try to handle her by magic, but I think you're going to need a lot more levels on that Dagon to be comfy.
Lelouch trying to move in onto KP, and they might have him, but no, the charge away again with the Ags is going to be enough. But in the meantime, Natsumi is sniped down Hyde. They at least get a support pick off there from Polaris. Talon, they are still on the run here. KP still sticking triangle, but kind of desperation farm here. Nowhere else to go. Force. Well, he's going to spot him out now. Force, he knows. Shockwave, skewer. That'll be the kill. KP. He got greedy with those creeps. Doesn't end up getting punished for it, and that was a dieback.
Yeah, it's a pretty big take for Polaris. Like KP just again trying to buy space, does get punished for it. The map is really shrinking here for Talon. They are keeping waves shoved out. So at the least there's some room for them to keep trying to build up, but not enough room to feel safe as well. Polaris just has control of most of the map and might look to counterplay top. TPs are coming out from Lelouch here.
They are. Fly. Around that top lane. Xavius is there as well with Lelouch. Bot lane. Gabby, he's completely alone right now, and Natsumi's going to spot him out. They've got the RP to boot, and that's going to be another kill onto Gabby. Natsumi crits him for over 2k with that DD rune. In the meantime, though, Makoto's been caught out. Alright, they just find everything. Everything they can ask for has been taken here by Polaris. And hell, we've gotten to the point now, John, where the axe is up on Natsumi.
Yeah, he's ready to go. He's going to have even more spells to toss out. He's got a basic dispel on hand with a blur. There's a lot now you can do with a PA. Even the stats are great. Fly.
Well, he's just doing Weaver things.
Disruptive, but again, Talon. Like, this gap is just growing. Like 12k up, Roshan's up, Natsumi gets to work by himself while the rest of the team just keeps chasing. Like, they know they can just have the PA sit there solo for the most part, have Mavis tank the Roshan hits, and just get another Aegis their way. So they're gonna have the Shard ready to go. You hand that to Natsumi as well. So he's got the Fan of Knives. Natural break, 16% for your HP just gone on the jump in. Even more burst on hand for the PA.
Well, Xavius, his patience does pay off. He has indeed found Fly. Fly is still going to be able to avoid the cookie and just Sakuchi away, but Xavius isn't done. He still wants this Weaver.
Dire's bottom tower.
We're trying a random scatter blast though.
Radiant's
It'll be a
middle
Fly.
tower
He just finally committed to the TP to get out of there. So 14k net worth advantage for Polaris. Talon right now, it just feels like they're fighting against a brick wall. It's just working for them. Gabby, he's trying to work towards the MKB, but it feels like he doesn't even have the chance to actually hit this PA. Like, we haven't actually seen it just kind of man fight, because every time Gabby shows his face, he's getting RP'd. So MKB or not, it just may not matter.
Yeah, like he just can't stand and fight. And it's down to Force always finding the angles for the RP. Even though it's just a one-man, he knows the big issue is the Terrorblade. Once they have a grip on that, there's just not much counterplay left on Talon at the moment. Still, Talon, again, still forcing stuff out here.
Yeah, Mavis going to get charged up by KP, but this might not be the target you want to start on. In fact, Natsumi already jumping in. Makoto so close to dying, but a big dream calls out. They're going to try and find this one, but the RP's there again. Forces caught Gabby. Terrorize Wood. It's by a bit of time for Gabby, but the meantime has worn off. So dump it again. Natsumi's gone. Makoto's unable to help out. And they just continue to clean up the side of Talon. They even found Hyde. The only survivor is going to be Fly on the Weaver, who does just Sakuchi away, but maybe not for long as he gets bashed up by Natsumi. He'll try to go for the time lapse, but that may not work out for him as he gets stunned up, and that'll be a full team wipe. Mag PA, John, it just never gets old with this team. Run it too damn well. They are just annihilating Talon right now.
Managed
to completely shut down Talon. There's just no strong counterplay coming out. But they have no answer for the PA, even with the Dagon's up, even with the Ags charge through. Natsumi just gets control. And Gabby is just stuck in a really rough spot. He pops mid, he tries to stand and fight, but the control's there, BKB or not. As you mentioned, Mike, the RP doesn't care for it. So I don't know what jump in, but I think the ideal for Talon now is that they force the RP out on a different hero, but Force is just so patient. He knows that he just needs to wait for the Terrorblade. 2 sets of racks down now for the side of Talon as Polaris guns for the last. And with a Lesh rack, this really just doesn't take too much time at all.
Certainly doesn't. Talon, they'll try one last time to defend this base, but it's not looking great for him. Polaris is just way too far ahead at the moment with a 25k net worth left. Cape. He'll charge in, the charge out onto the Leshrac. They won't let Lelouch down, but he is not dying. Meanwhile, Natsumi right onto Gabby will force the Sunder out onto Xavier's. But they are KP again on that Spirit Breaker. Now the kisses do come flying in from Xavier's back on a fly. They want to keep up the chase towards the south. They do at least have a Magnus Dream caught up, and they might be able to clean him up, but Natsumi's jumped in again. Maybe he's gone too far though. He doesn't want to risk dying right now. He'll go back for the racks instead. GG's called. Talon, they've seen enough. They know they can't defend any further. Polaris, they will force it to a game number 3.
Yeah, it's great showing from Polaris. This is what we're expecting from them from game 1, and running a more aggressive draft, running around those early timings they love to hit. And you get their comfort heroes as well. Lelouch, Leshrac, we've seen deliver time and time again.